Today we're talking about
Pflugerville, the Peace Island guys. Pflugerville.
It might catch you off guard, but we're talking about it, the good, the bad. You know, there's some good things about it. I think for a lot of people, actually, some great things about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, like we like to do here on the channel, we like to give you all the info, give you the good and the bad, and that's what we're going to jump into in this video. So make sure you get down there and like that like button, and let's get into the pros and cons of Pflugerville. So right off the bat, let's talk about the good stuff. The location here, I think we're in a really good spot.
Between a rock and a weird place is what I've heard people say before.
They put it on t-shirts, don't they?
They sure do. But yeah, definitely. Pflugerville has a great location. It's one of those suburbs that, you know, I would say is pretty established by now. People know of Pflugerville. People like living there, and there's just a lot of things to do. A lot of places to eat, shop. You know, I think it's just the best way to put it. It's an established suburb already by now.
Yeah, and you know, you kind of, when we were talking about this before we got ready to do the video, we've done other videos about Manor, you know.
Yeah.
And Manor is not too far away from Pflugerville, and you might look at Manor, that might be kind of what Pflugerville was like, you know, 10 or 15 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, back in the day, like, I'm not sure if you knew this, but I have ties to Pflugerville. I grew up in Pflugerville. Yeah, Pflugerville back in the day was kind of like what Manor is right now. So, if you guys are looking at Manor, I mean, there's potential in Manor, but in Pflugerville, it's definitely already, you know, on the up and coming.
Yeah, and so getting into like kind of where you can go, you know, how long does it take you to get around to the thing that's close to it? Because you know, you're about 23 minutes. Looking at my notes over here, 23 minutes to downtown Austin. Obviously, that can change depending on the traffic.
True.
You know, Round Rock's about 12 minutes. So if you need to get over to Dale or just go and have a good time downtown Round Rock, you can do that. Not very far away at all. Domain, just a little bit farther. We'll say about 15 minutes. If you're working at Amazon, though, right there, you know.
Amazon Distribution
just
Center.
Just a few minutes. Get out of your neighborhood and go right to work.
That's right. And you have the toll road right there on I-30. So yeah, it's a great location.
If you want to see more videos like this, where we're giving you information about all the different areas, neighborhoods, suburbs here in the Austin area, you got to get down there, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell. That way you get notified when our new videos come out. We shoot them like this for you all the time. You don't want to miss them. Yep. So moving along there, you're in a good location. It's also you know, fairly affordable. I won't say it's the most affordable, but you know, it's definitely more affordable than Austin. I think we're a little bit less than Round Rock too.
Yeah, so it's a good sweet spot right there as far as home prices. I think we had the home price medium in the mid 400s. So I think it's a good option for people that are looking in that, you know, northeast side of town, and, you know, still in a good price range. But no, I think Pflugerville has a good potential for people that like, you know, that bit of a city vibe. It's a smaller city, but it's technically a city, and a good affordable house prices.
Yeah, and just to give you an actual number, as of December, we pulled it at $440,000, the median price there. So 440 is the median. You know, that means you can find things, you know, in the 300s.
And I have, yeah.
You know,
do it all the time.
Pretty commonly, pretty easily, if that's your median. Obviously, it can go up on high that on the other side too.
You could do that too.
Another thing there, speaking about the affordability, property taxes are, you know, if you're coming from somewhere else, it may seem high anywhere, but I think for the area,
definitely
not too
bad. If we're talking about pros, I definitely like to mention property taxes as a pro. Right there with Round Rock, I think compared to the area, like you said, it's a good average, sitting around 2.3 as far as property tax rate.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, you know, we bring this up. You know, I hate to talk bad about Manor all the time. But we bring it up, you know, because they're the ones on this, you know, over here where you want to talk about the high spot for property taxes. You know, it can get up there at about 3%. So 2.3 is not too bad.
Yeah. Now, real quick, if you're even thinking about moving here to Pflugerville, you have to hit us up. Call, text, email, whatever it takes to get a hold of us, so we can get you moved out here to Pflugerville or anywhere in the ATX.
And with that, the big thing the property tax pays for a lot of that is going to that school district, and I think you're getting a good value for your money in Pflugerville. You've got a fairly highly rated school district here.
Sure.
Now, you know, Round Rock and Leander tend to steal the spotlight a little bit with the school districts just because, you know, they're going to hit the top of those lists a lot. But Pflugerville is not far behind.
Not at all. Not at all. They're up there top 10. I think we saw them, you know, number 8 on niche.com. So they typically have high ratings. I think we had them at an A- on
A- on niche.com.
On niche, so.
And a lot of the schools, if you go to like another site you can use as Great Schools, they've got it broken down by the individual schools. And a lot of 7, 8, 9s out of 10s on there. A few less, you know, some of those are still improving. But for the most part, I'd say, you know, you've got a great school district based on those rankings that you can see online. Of course, you know, some of that you don't know until you actually go and check out the school, which you can do that when you come here. So that's something important to you. You want to do that. But something else you want to do when you get here is just check out all the things that you have to do in Pflugerville.
There's so much stuff. Where do I start?
I don't even know where you're going to start. It's just, we got a long list.
We do have a long list. I think let's start with parks and trails, for example. So we do have a lot of parks. I know some of these suburbs that we might cover in the channel might not have the parks, but we do have them here. You do have parks, trails. For example, one of my favorite ones is Lake Pflugerville, where you can actually you can swim. There's an area where you can swim,
beach type
area. You can kayak, you can fish, and of course there's walking trails. It's a 3-mile trail going around, and then of course you have your city parks and neighborhood parks all throughout the town for sure.
Yeah, so a good bit of outdoor stuff there. Also, if you want, you don't want to swim in the lake, you've also got the water park. You can go check that out.
There you go.
Water Park. And
Typhoon, Texas.
And I'll mention, we're not too far again from Round Rock, so you've got 2 other water parks in Round Rock. So
yeah,
I think
they're within proximity too.
Yeah, so plenty of water options for you. And then really, I mean, over the last, I'd say about 10 years, you've gotten a ton of other development there, like around Stonehill, that whole area.
Yeah, so since you mentioned it, yeah, so Stonehill is one of the biggest town centers here in Pflugerville. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that was not there. So all that is fairly new. You have all these new retail, restaurants, and just entertainment options right there close to you if you live in Pflugerville. Just some stores to name a few. You have a Target, you have your Best Buy, Home Depots, and then you have your fast food chains, you have your McDonald's, your Chick-fil-A's, your Whataburgers. You know, you have everything that you need here in town. You do have your movie theaters. You have Cinemark. You have one right there in Pflugerville, and then right out off of I-35, which is Pflugerville zip code, but maybe considered Austin. You have what used to be called Tinseltown, but it's a movie theater.
Yeah, so pretty much everything. I mean, all you want to do is right there in that shopping center. And you mentioned a lot of the chains and a lot of fast food. You do have some local stuff too, not just there, but in and around Pflugerville too.
Yeah, you can't forget the local business.
What are some of your favorite restaurants around there?
Have you El Rincón? El Rincón means the corner in Spanish. I think that's a good spot. You have Hanover's. You have some good spots in Stonehill as well. A new bar opened up called 54th Street. So yeah, you have a lot of local places here. And Red Roosters, can't forget Red Roosters for sure.
Yeah, so good bit there. I asked him what his favorite restaurants are because you grew up in Pflugerville, so
yeah,
he's been around a little bit. Now, to be fair, when you were in Pflugerville, when you were in high school growing up, that none of that was there, right?
That's true. That's true.
Was all,
yeah. So some of these places, like I was looking up a bar today that I just saw it for the first time, just because it's so new. So some of these places are that new that just they weren't here when I was growing up. Keep in mind this was my teen years, so then of course I wasn't going to bars then. But yeah, all these places are new. There's still a lot of new developments as you go east of the toll road 130. That's where you start to see a lot of those newer communities and newer neighborhoods as well.
Yeah, and then too, I'll say right there, I don't know if we mentioned this, but right across the street from Stonehill, you got Costco. If you're a Costco fan, some people are huge fans of Costco.
Yeah, it's one of 4 locations here in Austin.
Yeah, you do have a Costco right there in Pflugerville too, so that's nice. And also, we can just keep going down the list. There's like we said, there's tons and tons of stuff to do. So you will not run out of things to do in Pflugerville. Really, really pretty much it all. But I think we got to wrap that up, and we'll finally go ahead and get into the cons. I know y'all been waiting for the cons. We'll talk about the negatives, and the first one's kind of I was telling him, it doesn't really sound like it's that big of a deal, but
it is.
Some people really have a problem with the name, and it's not just mispronouncing it, because then you've got to explain it. If you're giving somebody your address, you're always gonna have to spell this out. So it's kind of like those little things, just with the name. You're gonna put up with a minor annoyance with that.
I've had people say, "Oh, that just sounds so ugly," but I mean, it's just the name. It's German origins, I guess, and it's the name of the town. We can jump into the origins of the name, but I mean, the fact is that's the name of the name, Pflugerville. The P is silent, but once you get familiar with how to say it, I mean, it just rolls off the tongue pretty easily.
Yeah, I think the problem isn't that like you knowing it, like you'll know it because you're here. It's when you tell anybody else.
When you tell
is the problem.
People.
But that's not a big deal. I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's going to stop somebody from coming to enjoy all the other benefits.
Once they see the town, everything there is to do here, the friendly, quiet, atmosphere that there is here in town, I think it'll grow on someone.
Yeah, I definitely think so too, because you kind of still, it is a city, but I think you kept some of the benefits of the small town. Now, I will say it is a small city. That was our next con on the list, is that even though it is a city, it's not quite to the extent, I mean, it's not Austin, it's not Round Rock either, so it's a little different.
Right, so population of around 66,000 people. Yeah, considered a city, technically a city, but it is on the small end. So not as fast paced, as definitely nothing, like you said, compared to Austin. Round Rock, I still think would be more of a faster paced city. But it's kind of right there in between. So if that's something that you're looking for, then it might be right for you. But if you're looking for a fast paced city, then this is not it.
Yeah, and then along with being a smaller city, we mentioned that you do have Amazon there, but as far as like big employers that are drawing a lot of people to the area, that's really about it. Now you got all the small stuff we talked about, the things to do. Obviously, somebody's got to work at all these places. But
true. So a lot of employers. Don't get me wrong, a lot of employers, but like those big ones that stand out, like the Dells, the Teslas, the Samsungs. Now, what's how can I phrase this? It's like a good and a bad, because they're not there, but they're all within proximity there. So it's however you want to slice it. They're not in town, but they are within driving distance.
Yeah, and since they are within driving distance, we're rolling right to the next one, which you're going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic.
That's true.
I mean, you're right there where you are. I mean, you got the toll roads coming by. If you're going, depending on which way you're going, you might have to deal with 35 or Mopac. So to get to all those different places. But like you said, they're not too far. You're not dealing with an hour-long commute.
Definitely.
Pretty much all these big employers, your North Austin Tech Jobs, your like you said, Tesla, Samsung, all these Dell up and around. It's a pretty close drive. But where you deal with a little traffic.
It's kind of a recurring theme here in the Austin area, but yeah, it happens in Pflugerville as well. You have your normal traffic. But it's not as bad as, once you start seeing some of these other suburbs that are a little bit further out. Once we start talking about the Huttos, the Mainers, Taylors, Elgins, Bastjobs, those are a little bit further out. I think Pflugerville is in such of a sweet spot right there where it's still relatively close to everything.
Yeah, and lastly on our cons list here, we mentioned, the housing is cheaper, but it's not the cheapest. So if you do want to save some money, there's, again, there's Maynard, there's Hutto, there's spots as you get out towards Taylor or Elgin. There's places on the east side of town where you can save more money if that is what is really important to you.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. It's cheaper, but not cheap. I mean, the medium home price was what, 440, 444?
Yeah, 440.
So yeah, it's a solid price. I mean, you compare to Austin, it's great compared to Pflugerville. I mean, Round Rock it's still less than, but for people maybe getting that like a starter home and really on a budget. We can still find you homes, because remember, I can still find homes, and I still see them to this day way under that medium home price, but on average that's typically what we're looking at for a home there in Pflugerville.
That's right. And as we kind of continue going, you know, with if you're somebody that's looking at moving into the Pflugerville area, there are a lot more things we could talk about, both good and bad. And really, that's just going to be the stuff that's the pros and cons of the entire area here in Austin. And we actually did that in a whole video about that, going into all those details, which are going to hit you anywhere you go, even here in Pflugerville. So you don't want to miss out on that video. Check it out. It's right here. We'll see you there.